Polishing the frets and taking care of sharp fret ends, that's the next step. Do you have to do this? No, you do not. If this is your first guitar and you don't own any tools, you can totally skip this step. But if you've been playing for a while and you want to learn more about working on guitars, then this is good stuff to know. Before I polish these frets up, I want to introduce you to one of my best friends here. This is a StewMac fret end file. And for years, I've been preaching about how great this thing is. I freaking love this. Okay, it's a little expensive for being a tiny fret file. It's a little pricey, but you'll only have to buy it once. And it's kind of funny because when I started watching Phil McKnight's channel, I saw that he was saying the same thing, and I was like, yep. One of the differences between a good guitar and a cheap guitar is the fret ends. What happens is at the factory, there's a slot in the wood, and they take a fret and they put the fret down into the slot. Then they level the frets and they crown the frets. They take a file and an angle and they go like this. And then basically they go through and make sure that there's no sharp fret edges. But here's the problem. Wooden guitar necks are made out of wood. And wood can get bigger or smaller depending on humidity and environment and a whole bunch of other stuff. If the wood expands, it's no problem. If the wood shrinks, then all of a sudden a teeny tiny little piece of that fret end is going to be sticking out the side. And then you're going to run your fingers up and down and you're going to feel these sharp metal fret ends, and it's going to, if it's bad enough, it can cut your finger while you're trying to play. And so that's horrible. So one of the things that you can do is you can get a StewMac fret end file, and it's a fairly dull file, so you can't get into too much trouble with it. But let's say that you've got, and I'm trying to find one. These are really good. Okay, this one right here. I can feel a little bit of sharpness. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the fret file, and one edge is flat and one edge is rounded. I'm going to put the rounded edge down. Okay? So right now if I'm doing this, that rounded edge is not filing any of this wood. It's totally safe. This side is the file. And I'm just going to take the little sharp fret end and I'm just going to round it like that, just like that, so that it is no longer sharp. And so what I like to do, if the neck is bad enough, or if it's a new fret installation, I'll go do them all, both ways. In a case like this, I don't want to touch it unless it really needs help. So just kind of going fret by fret. That's the one I just did. Now let me do this side. And you see what I'm doing? It's just a quick little gesture. I'm going like this, but I'm also going like that. So I'm kind of rounding it because I don't want any sharp edges. And you can take your time. You can go slow. You can go fast. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. It's your guitar. The fretwork on this guitar is pretty darn good. Sometimes because my hands shake, sometimes I like to use two hands on it like this, and it gives me more control. So what happens when you get to the very top up here? Well, you can't really go down into the body, so you just gotta kind of do the best you can. All right, and I'm actually gonna flip it around. Start down here, right there a little bit. So okay, if you've never worked on a guitar before, this is probably not the best place to start. But I'm just showing you, sometimes you can buy a guitar at a store and nobody else wants to buy it because the fret ends are sharp. It's not that hard to take off the sharp parts. I am not mechanically inclined in any way, shape, or form, and I can do this. If I can do it, you certainly can. Okay, good enough. Feels good. One of the things that you can do to your guitar, if it is a cheap guitar, you'll notice that this wood right here, the angle of the neck, the wood comes up, and then it's like the edge of a table. It's like a 90-degree angle. And on expensive guitars, they don't have that kind of an angle like that. They don't do that. What they do is round it, okay? So you can, if there's a harsh edge on here, you can round that off with sandpaper. Or, and some people hate this, but I've never had any problems with it, you can actually take a screwdriver and just kind of, do you see what I'm doing? I'm gently pressing on the wood, and I'm just kind of pushing it down a little bit. And boy, is this a divisive strategy to rounding a fingerboard. Some people will tell you, oh my God, you can't do that. You got to use like sandpaper. No, you don't, right? I mean, on an old guitar, the reason that wood is rounded off is because of your hand pressure. What's your hand doing? It's squeezing. It's compressing the wood. Duh, that's what I'm doing. So that's my argument. I'm sticking to it. I don't want to bang the frets up a bunch. I just want to I'm just pushing down just to take off that sharp edge. And if you get rid of that sharp edge on the fretboard, you'd be surprised at how much better the guitar feels. Like the difference between a $200 guitar and a $500 guitar sometimes is that somebody took the time to round off the edges of the fretboard. So that's why I'm doing that right now. I'm just working slowly and carefully. Nothing too dramatic here. I'm only compressing the wood just a little bit. Okay, good enough. Feels great. So now I'm going to polish the frets. Okay, so polishing the frets. This is going to surprise you. So brand new guitar, right? Brand new frets, cymbal cleaner. You can buy it at Sam Ash, Guitar Center, Amazon, whatever. White, milky substance. This won't hurt the wood. So do I need to clean these frets? Are they dirty? You tell me. I would say yes. So what is that black stuff? Well, some of it is crap from the factory. Some of it would be like dead skin, I guess. But nice, clean, shiny frets always look better. That's what came off my frets. So did I need to clean them? Yep. Now they're clean. Let's talk about the fretboard itself. On a brand new guitar, your fretboard is going to be fine. Let me get another rag here. Where we use that one. So it's going to be fine. But it's going to need to be oiled. Right now, I'm just kind of wiping off any of that excess cymbal cleaner. I'm going to get that kind of off. I don't need that on there. If you've got a Strat of any kind and the fretboard is really dirty, it's got like a bunch of finger gunk on there, just like gunk, you can take like a guitar pick and scrape that gunk up to clean it. Because that way the wood is safe and we're not sanding the stuff off. We're just kind of scraping the stuff. And sometimes if it's really stuck in there really bad, you can use this stuff, lighter fluid. And you might think I'm nuts, but this is actually what the pros use, naphtha, which is lighter fluid. This stuff will clean wood really, really good. The problem is if you use lighter fluid, you absolutely have to follow it up. You got to wipe it off and then oil the fretboard because this will dry the wood out. I'm not going to use that today, and there's no grime to scrape, so no point in that. So instead, I'm just going to oil the fretboard. How often do you need to oil the fretboard? It depends on the guitar, it depends on the weather, blah, blah, blah. Well, 2 times a year is a good rule of thumb. If not 2 times a year, 1 time a year. Don't go like 10 years without oiling a fretboard. It's a bad idea. Also, can you see that? I'm not putting a ton of oil on here. I'm getting it wet because I'm going to rub it in. I don't need to douse the thing. I just want to get some of this oil on the wood between all these frets because I'm going to rub the oil in with a cloth. So why do you have to oil the fretboard? Well, because it's wood and it's not sealed if it's this kind of neck. If it's a maple neck with plastic seal on it, you don't need to do this. But if it's rosewood or if it's ebony or if it's any kind of darker wood like this, then you put the oil on and you rub the oil in and it kind of seals up the wood a little bit. And so that's going to prevent moisture from getting into the wood and moisture from getting out of the wood to some extent. I think this is Pau Ferro is what they call it. And it is a rosewood replacement. And what do I think of it? I think it's fine. I'm not a snob when it comes to wood. I'm really not. I mean, mechanically, does the guitar work? That's the biggest question. Tell you something else, too. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. You probably can't, but when you oil the fretboard, man, it looks a lot better. That looks really good. It looks really good. So that takes care of the fretboard. And now we're going to put on the new strings. Put on strings, we need three things. We need a string winder, we need a string cutter, and we need a set of strings. I have got Ernie Ball strings. This is 10 through 46. If you buy a Squier Affinity Strat, it's probably going to come with like 9 through 42 or 43, whatever it is. It's going to come with 9s. I like 10s. And the reason I like 10s is because the Strat is a longer scale than like a Les Paul or a PRS. I think the thinner the string, the plinkier it sounds. So why not D'Addario or D'Addario? Why do I go with Ernie Ball? I'm going to show you why I go with Ernie Ball. One very simple reason. The strings are individually packaged. You go D'Addario or D'Addario, and the strings are like color-coded at the end. And after 30 years of playing guitar, I still haven't memorized this stupid color scheme. So instead, I do this. Deal it out like a deck of cards. Oh, what's this? An ad for cable I don't want. I got, here's 17, and then here's our 13, here's our 10. So now, I'm going to show you, close up and personal, how to do this. Okay, if you've got the split shaft tuner with the hole in it, this is going to be a little different than normal. Step one, when I'm doing a Strat, I like to put all the strings through first, all at the same time. So my low E string, and I'm just pushing it through and pulling it through. 36, here's the next one. So straight down the hole. Pull it through. So now if I flip this over, you can see that's what we got. Here's all my strings. One of the things that can happen when you're stringing up a Strat, and I want to show you from the other side, is if you're not careful with one of these strings, you can end up where the ball end comes out. See that? And it can get kind of hung up on the edge here. And so then what happens is you're tuning, and it's almost up to pitch, and then it slips, and it goes back down in, and then your string goes, oh, and it scares you. So I'm going to show you what to do about that. Okay, so here's all my strings, blah, blah, blah. Now this guy here, my low E string. Because I want to use the tremolo on this guitar, when I set up to use the tremolo, I'm going to use something called Big Ben's Nut Sauce. There you go. Big Ben's Nut Sauce. It's expensive, but you buy it once and you have it almost forever. And what you want to do is just put the teeniest of tiniest amounts of this stuff. Just a little teeny tiny bit like that. You probably couldn't even see that go in. I'm going to do that on each one of these. And so what this stuff does is it's a lubricant basically. And it prevents the string from sticking in the slot, from getting stuck in the slot. So if you have like a vibrato bar, when you're working the vibrato bar, this string is going back and forth and back and forth. So if the nut is a little lubricated, that little slot there, that'll help you. Your vibrato bar will work better. So it's a good idea. Okay. What you don't want to do is you don't want to put the string down the hole like this and bend it and start winding, because you got way too much string. What you actually want to do is you actually want to measure. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit more than 2 pass for the low E. I'm going to go like 2.5 pass. Let's try that. So I'm going to measure this. I'm pulling up on the string, and I'm going to measure this at about 1, 2, and about a half pass. And I'm going to cut it there. Okay. So now I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to put it down directly straight down the center of the shaft into the hole. Okay? So now it's in the hole. Now I'm going to bend it inward, bend it around like that. I'm going to take my handy dandy string winder and wind the string. All right. And what I want to do when I'm doing this winding is I want to make sure that I'm winding down the post and not up the post. And I'll show you what I mean in a close-up in a second. Let me finish this. Finish. Okay, this is what you want. Now I've done 2 winds around. I probably could have gone 3 past instead of 2.5. I probably could have done like 3 winds around. 2 is not bad. 1 is not enough. 2, 2.5, 3 is okay. But this is what it should look like. So as I'm winding, the string is going down the shaft. What you don't want to do is you don't want to wind it so the string ends up on top of itself, on top of the string. You might have seen like B.B. King when he strung his guitar. He had the string on top of itself. That's fine, unless you're going to use a vibrato bar, because when you loosen this string, it uncoils a little bit. When it coils back up, if it's like this, it's going to coil back up probably pretty neatly. But if the string is on top of itself, you're going to have problems. So that looks pretty good. That's a good way to do this. When I was doing this, what you couldn't see was I was pulling up on this string here to make sure that in the back, that string wasn't catching on the end, like something like that. You don't want that. So as I'm putting the string on, I'm pulling up on one end and then doing the other. So now, to put the rest of the strings on, I'm going to go wide shot. So now you can see like the whole deal. So I'm going to put this A string on next. I'm not just going to do it. I'm going to take this hand and pull up here and make sure this is tight, right? Make sure that that thing is not catching under there anywhere. Just take that thing, bend it like that. Then down at this end, I'll go 2.5 pegs past. 1, 2, and then over to here. And I'm going to cut it right about there. So let's cut that. So this is what it looks like from a distance. String goes straight down in the hole, bend it over. Now as I'm winding it, I'm using my hand here to make sure that the winds go down the shaft, like I said. Okay, that looks good. Next. And again, don't lose track of these strings. These string ends. You do not want to step on these stupid things. As the strings get thinner, you're going to find you get more winds around the post. We'll see.